Welcome back to the Spoonie and Caregiver Life podcast with me, your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And let's go ahead and get into today's episode, shall we? So, on today's episode, I want to talk about something that I realized I was missing. I have also noticed this in other people, and that is the fact that I, or a lot of us, don't know how to listen. I know, right? It's kind of hard to understand because it was kind of hard for me to understand as well. But the way that I found this out was by learning how to listen to my wife. So you may say, I want to hear this story. Well, here it is. So prepare because there's a lot of detail on this one. Now, it took me a long time to put this into words because I always thought I was a great listener. I always pride myself of being the best listener and listening to everything, but I found out this wasn't the case. As you guys know, I'm my wife's caregiver, and she's my spoonie. So when we received her numerous diagnoses, I wasn't sure what to do with the changes in our situation because everything literally just changed all of the sudden. It was like a ton of bricks just hitting me all at once. And let's be honest, my English wasn't great back then, so I couldn't really understand what was going on. And this came to light recently where my wife, sorry, my mom, I don't know why I said that. My wife went to her doctor's appointment. When she came back, she was talking about how the doctor told her one thing about one condition and then another thing about another condition. Well, these two particular conditions sound exactly the same. So back then when she was diagnosed, I didn't understand that those were two different diagnoses, so I always thought it was the same. So I asked her like, "What do you mean they're two different diagnoses?" And she says like, "Well, they are. This condition does this. This condition attacks this in my body." And I was like, I always thought they were the same because they sounded similar. So that's when I also realized like, gosh, my English needed to improve. So that's why I started working on myself a lot. So I was also at a loss because I didn't understand the severity of what was going on back then. Like I didn't understand what was going on, you know? I was like a little kid lost. So when I realized that I had to step up and help my wife, I had to learn how she felt quickly, which for a lot of caregivers or people in general is hard to understand what somebody else is going through. So my learning curve was very steep. It was almost like it was almost like the stock market when it crashes. It went like down and then when it went back up and then like that. Just like that. That's how I see it because I'm still living it. So what I started doing was asking her for as much detail about her pain as possible. Like, how exactly does it feel? Where does it hurt? Things like that, you know? Because, and when I started doing that, here's what I realized. I didn't understand some of the words that she was telling me, but then I will ask her what they meant. Or if she didn't tell me or if she couldn't tell me what they meant, because obviously you're gonna be in pain, you're gonna go through your own thing, you might not be able to explain everything, I would just search online. I will go to my other teacher, Google, and Google the condition or Google the pain or figure out exactly what she's telling me so I can put it on Google and then I will be able to find something that could actually help, you know? I also started researching the diagnosis, yeah, to understand more and also to look cool to my wife. I wanted to look cool, so she knew I was going to be able to take care of her. And because I wanted to understand how she was feeling, I began to pay attention to her words. That's one thing. And it's very important because when I say I began to pay attention, I mean stopping whatever I'm doing and even putting down my phone, or I mean, even putting my phone down, which is hard for us to do, for a lot of us to do, because let's be honest, our phones are an extension of our fingers now. We are talking to people looking at our phones, people are talking to us and we're looking at our phones. I used to do that, so I had to change that, because learning how to listen to my wife was hard for me because of the language barrier. So I am pretty much learning something new every day, and I am up for the challenge. Like literally every day my wife is teaching me something new, either in regards to her conditions or in regards to the language itself, or the culture. So I'm learning something new by paying attention to my wife. And once I started listening to my wife more, I started doing the same thing with others. And I realized that we all want to feel heard. Because by not feeling heard, life can get lonely. And when you're going through something in life, it's much worse to feel lonely. Like it's like you feel misunderstood, nobody understands you. So it can lead to down to the rabbit hole where you can get depressed and isolate yourself because nobody's understanding you. So believe me, I understand some of the things that you might be going through because I'm going through it right now. So you're not alone. And another thing that I have seen is that I have also seen this with doctors, because we as patients sometimes don't listen to them or understand them, because they use a lot of medical terminology that we don't know the meaning of. You know what I'm talking about. You know that feeling of not understanding what the doctor is saying because they use all this jargon. So you lie and say that you understand everything the doctor tells you, and when you're done with the visit, you feel like it went nowhere. Like, have you ever had that? I have. Like, multiple times, where there has been multiple times where me and my wife go to a doctor's appointment, even my own doctor's appointment, where I'm like, I don't know what he said, I don't know what that means, but it's because we don't either listen or we don't listen enough to ask the right questions. And I'm not attacking anybody, this is just pretty much what's happening to me. Another way that we don't listen is when someone talks about their situation and we don't pay attention, because we don't understand what someone is going through since we have never seen it or felt it or feel it, however you want to put it. Because a big thing about listening, this is how I see it from my perspective, is that if we don't feel anything towards the situation that is being explained to us, or we don't have a way to feel something about the pain or the condition or anything like that, we might be like, I really don't understand it and I'm not gonna pay attention, because like our brains might not compute. Like, I have seen people say that, like, I really don't understand what you're saying because I never felt it, I never seen it, so I don't know what you're talking about. That has happened to me with my wife, where I'm like, I don't know how it feels, I don't know what you're saying, but I'm gonna try to help you at least. And here's the thing though, doctors, friends, family members, and strangers do this a lot, where they don't pay attention because they have never seen or felt or feel your pain. So that's pretty much what happens a lot. Not to everybody, but a lot. I have seen it in a lot of people. This is something I am learning, which made me realize that I never knew how to listen correctly because I was never taught how to. And this is true though. I could never pay attention in school. This has been ongoing all my life. You can ask my wife because she will tell you, like, I get distracted very easily. But by eliminating all distractions and wanting to learn how to help, I have been able to actually do it. I have noticed that many people have issues similar to those I face. So I wanted to talk about this because I want people to listen to their spoonie or anyone they're helping. It doesn't matter if it's a spouse, partner, friend, child, doctor, or even patient. One way of helping them is by listening. I can attest to this because ever since I started to understand and listen more to my wife, her attitude has changed toward her challenges, which are a lot. She has now hope. She is happier, and in turn, it is making me more comfortable because now I feel like she can actually do her own things without depending too much on me, which is not a problem. It's just that I feel good that she's having this feeling that she can be dependent on her own, you know? That's what a Spoonie likes as well, for what I have seen, based on my wife. For you, it could be different or not. So, if you decide to give this a go and choose to listen more, which is very important, you might understand someone and be able to help them. But just remember this, there is no way to listen better than knowing that I or you might have different definitions for the words other people are saying. That is extremely important because your definition for a certain word or your understanding for a certain condition might be completely different to what's going on. Like it happens. It has happened to me and my wife, so that's why I'm saying it. And this is the best advice I can give you, especially if you know a foreign language. And let's be honest, I have paid attention to a lot of couples in my situation and people in my situation. And even though a lot of us speak the same language, in reality, we kind of speak a foreign language. Even though it might be the same, it's still foreign because a lot of us use different definitions for certain words that might mean something completely different for another person. Like I said, it has happened to my wife where she had a completely different definition. I don't know for exactly what word, but I was like, that's not what it means. And she's like, well, that's what it means to me. I'm like, but that's not what it means to me. So that's why I'm saying this. And by understanding that, you might be able to connect with that person because that person might be able to teach you something. You might be able to learn something new. And another thing that I want to say, and this is something that I actually learned recently when I started using my listening skills with my wife. In order for us to be able to listen, we have to do it in three parts. We have to listen to the words, which means that we have to pay attention with our ears. We have to pay attention to their body language, which means that we have to listen with our eyes. And then we have to listen with our mouths, which is pretty much we have to say the right words so they can actually understand that we hear them. That's pretty much what it is. So this is something that I've been working on in my with my listening skills. So that's why I wanted to put this out there because I see this with a lot of people, especially with spoonies, because they might not be able to express themselves correctly in regards to the condition because they might not even know what's going on. The doctor is not giving them the information, or the doctor doesn't even know. You might not know what's going on, so it can cause frustration. But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. And again, thank you for all your feedback. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for all the emails and the messages. I really, really appreciate it. We're growing, which I really, really like. And because we're growing, I'm gonna keep saying this. Any type of feedback that helps us grow even more and reach more people is appreciated. I have received good feedback, bad feedback, but feedback to me is feedback. So I'll take it into consideration to see how it helps, how it doesn't help, and I will work on the podcast because this is a podcast for everybody. And again, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe so we can actually even grow more and reach more people so they don't feel alone. And you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And if you want to share your story, you can post it on the community on Facebook, or you can send it to me at the Spoonie and Caregiver Life at gmail.com. And I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself and have a great day.